Hello! Well, last time with French polishing I showed you a more sophisticated finishing technique. And this time I like to show you a very easy way to finish a piece of wood, just using boiled linseed oil. So with boiled linseed oil you will not be able to achieve a high glossy surface, but you will keep the natural look and feel of the piece of wood. And at the same time it will enhance the figure and the color of the wood. I will show you how to apply boiled linseed oil on this off-cut piece of plum wood. But first we have to prepare the wood for finishing. Before I start the application, I double check if there are no imperfections left on the wood. But I think it looks good. So applying the oil could not be easier. You do need a rag or a paper towel, depends on the size of your workpiece. And obviously you need boiled linseed oil. I have a little bit of boiled linseed oil in the squeeze bottle. So once I make sure the whole surface is covered with linseed oil, I leave it for a while, just so it has time to soak in, and I would say give it about 15 to 20 minutes. It depends a little bit on the type of boiled linseed oil you are using. Some kinds of boiled linseed oil have some additives that are dryers and help the boiled linseed oil to cure. And some types of boiled linseed oil are only, boiled linseed oil. The boiling process speeds also up the drying process, but this oil usually takes about 48 hours to cure completely, compared to the ones with the additives, in my experience, 12 to 24 hours. And but before the oil dries completely, it starts to get tacky, and you want to wipe off the excess before it starts to get tacky. So it really depends on your oil, but I think leave it about 15 minutes up to 20 minutes and I think it should be fine. After a few minutes the boiled linseed oil already starts to soak in on some areas, so I try to distribute it more evenly. So now after almost 15 minutes I wipe off all the excess oil. And I really try to wipe off the oil as best as I can. Okay. And now we have to let it dry for about 24 or maybe 48 hours. So, hello! Now before I start to apply the next coat, I actually try to wipe off any dust that might be settled on this piece. And now I will apply the second coat. And this time I do not need so much of the boiled linseed oil, because it will not soak in so much as it did yesterday. So on the second application, if you wish, you can use fine grit sandpaper and sand the oil. And by sanding with the oil, you create a little bit of wood dust and oil mix, and this will help to make the surface a little bit smoother, but this is totally optional. Always sand with the grain. In this case I'm using 240 sandpaper, but you can actually go a little bit higher. So wiping off the excess. Okay, now I bring the camera a little bit nearer so you might be able to see how it looks. Just a moment. I hope you can see this. So obviously the oil isn't dry yet, so it might very well be possible that we will develop some dry spots, and if that happens, just simply come back, repeat the process until it stays smooth. But very important when you're using an oil finish like boiled linseed oil, you don't want any oil left on the surface. So there you have it. The boiled linseed oil finish is done. And if there were still some blind spots visible, simply apply another coat of boiled linseed oil and be careful to wipe off all the excess. And you're done. Now you can actually take it one step further by applying a thin coat of paste wax. But remember, this step is totally optional. I just take a little bit of the paste wax and I rub it in. And you really don't need much. So now the paste wax contains some solvent to make it soft. And once I buffed in this wax, I let it dry for a moment, just so that the solvent can evaporate, and then I buff it off, and I really try to remove all the wax that's on the surface. So I gave the solvents a few minutes to evaporate, and now I try to remove all the wax on the surface. Now I really try to remove all the wax on the surface, because when there is a lot of wax left on the surface, first of all, it will not look good, it will develop blind spots, and it will attract dust. So when I now touch the wood, it actually feels like a polished piece of wood, but without any finish. I don't feel a finish, I actually feel the wood, and I really like that. So this is an oil finish with a little bit of wax on top, and it's very easy to make. You can't do anything wrong using a kind of finish like this. You don't require any sort of skills, it's very easy to apply. So a perfect finish, not only for a beginner, but also for an experienced woodworker. So you see, this is actually a very easy way to finish a piece of wood. Now, I do have some safety notes, and I better read them to you. Rags soaked with linseed oil stored in a pile are considered a fire hazard because they provide large surface area for oxidation of the oil. The oxidation of oil is an exothermic reaction, which accelerates as the temperature of the rags increases. Any rags soaked with oil should be laid flat on a non-flammable surface away from flammable items until they are completely dry, or they can be placed in a metal container with water. Thanks for watching, have a nice day.